Hello everyone. A group of indigenous people on a remote island are performing a sacrificial ritual during the night. The cannibals bring a boy to the altar of their deity and start dancing frantically around him. The leader of the ancient tribe, a stern young woman wearing the fangs of dead snakes, calls upon the bloodthirsty deity to accept their offering. The boy wakes up and horrified, stares at a gigantic black python crawling towards him. The fierce creature eagerly protrudes its forked tongue, ready to devour its meal, and lunges at the altar. Lin Jiashu wakes up. It turns out that the boy had a terrible nightmare when he dozed off while fishing with his uncle. He has no idea that 10 years later, his nightmare will come true. Lin wakes up in a fog-shrouded boat floating slowly down the river. They approach the cannibal island that the villagers are hesitant to come to. Suddenly, something throws his uncle off the boat and drags him under the water. A moment later, however, he resurfaces and tells his terrified nephew that he just had some trouble with the net. The fishermen fail to notice as their boat drifts ashore onto the island. The man starts rowing to escape the terrifying place, but suddenly Lin Jiashu is no longer there. The uncle rushes to the shore to find his nephew, but sees a huge snake with its teeth bare and runs back to the boat in terror. Frantically, the man rushes back to the village. He runs to the hut of Tang Shu, the boy's father, and tells him what has happened. Meanwhile, Lin is wandering around the deserted island. Tripping over a rotten log, he falls, and to his horror, sees a shed skin of a giant snake. The boy backs away from the gruesome find in fear, but stops when he realizes that the discarded skin is not a threat. Suddenly, something quickly grabs him by the leg and drags him deep into the jungle. The frightened boy is trapped by tangled roots and cries desperately for help. Through his tears, he sees stone statues and nibbled human skeletons all around him, and a caustic nectar drips on his hand from above, exuded by a living, predatory flower already approaching its victim. Meanwhile, a rescue team of villagers is about to set out for the cannibal island. A wise elder tries to stop the team by telling them about a terrible snake god guarding the healing grass and trees of the god's domain. If anyone sets foot on that territory, the snakes will attack their village. Lin's parents are not the only ones headed to the island to rescue the boy. Treasure hunters seeking quick profits are also eager to join the mission. Their boss, Zhao, is willing to seize the opportunity to reach the island. Despite the elder's final warning, the team enthusiastically gets into the boats and sets off on their journey. In the dark, the team lands on the island and wanders into the thickets. One of Zhao's fellows picks up snake eggs from a nest and brings them to his boss. However, the latter refuses them and instead points to an unusual flower that could potentially be a cure, commanding to dig it up. Working with a pickaxe, he realizes that a massive snake was slithering towards him. The snake then viciously attacks and kills him. His dying scream reaches the rest of the group, but they don't stop and continue their search. As Lin's mother scans the trail with her flashlight, she catches a glimpse of her son's lost shoe. She begins calling out loudly for her son. Suddenly, a king snake, lurking in the thickets surrounding them, springs out in a fit of rage, catching them off guard. Trying to escape the deadly creature, the terrified team becomes trapped by the plants, which drag them to an abandoned altar in a hidden cave. Looking around in it, Zhao recalls that according to the legend, along with the king of snakes, there must be an immortal healing snake on this island. All of a sudden, Lin lets out a desperate cry and his parents rush to help him. Meanwhile, the treasure hunters are exploring the cave in search of bounty. The men find a pile of ancient skeletons buried in the stems of a mighty plant and suspect it's the legendary man-eating flower. They stare at it with interest, while angry snakes begin to crawl out from everywhere, and their king soon shows up as well. The team finds themselves in a deadly trap. They try to escape, desperately climbing the dangling vines in an attempt to reach the exit of the cave. Lin, however, grabs a snake egg on the ground and puts it in his bag before the team manage to escape. The survivors return to the village. However, it turns out that two of them are on the verge of death. Boss Zhao and Lin's mom have been bitten. The rescued boy hopes that his mother will survive, but she gives him a parting gift and final instructions. Soon after, she dies in front of her little son. One morning, Lin wakes up in his bed and notices that a golden white spotted snake has finally hatched from its egg. The boy names it Xiaohua. The boy cares for his pet in secret from his father, but he still notices a tiny python in his son's room. He anxiously demands to give him the dangerous animal, but the boy wants to protect his friend and runs away from home. Locals run to his father's screams and chase after Lin. Lin's Jiashu runs to the riverside to set the python free. With tears in his eyes, the boy runs his friend off and other snakes appear to get him right away. 10 years later, Lin is working as a biologist, researching plant genetics, as he continues to ponder the enigmatic island, tormented by its mysteries, and contemplates the possibility of returning to his home village. An unexpected phone call interrupts his thoughts. He gets a phone call from his uncle, who informs him of a terrible situation in the village. All the snake hunters and those who eat their meat are down with plague, and there isn't a cure. The uncle begs his nephew to do some biological research to help the suffering people, and Lin promises to find a way. That same day, Lin attends a business meeting. The head of the company, Dr. Lai, and a woman named Fei report that a special herb has been found on an island near the village, which could grant immortality. The management arranges an expedition, and Lin finds himself imposed as its head. He is assigned an assistant, who happens to be Fei's daughter, Lily. The expedition arrives at the village, where Lin immediately meets his beloved uncle. He also sees a terrifying scene: discarded snake skins and the plague patients. In the evening, the scientists gather for a council with the locals, led by Zhao, who survived being bitten by a snake. Dr. Lai informs him that the expedition intends to seek out gold and silver grass on the island, which they have recently purchased from the locals and examined. It turns out that the plant contains genes capable of cell regeneration. The selfish Zhao, who is still looking for easy money, agrees to join the expedition. Lin's father, Tang Shu, also volunteers to go. The next morning, the team sets out with armed guards, and soon they land on the shores of the cannibal island. They set out in search of a healing herb. The team is attacked by bloodthirsty plants soon after Zhao's accomplices cut down a predatory flower. Luckily, most of them manage to hide in a nearby cave. At the entrance to the cave, Fei finds the right plant and tries to pluck the sprout, causing the nearby plants to die unexpectedly. Seeing this, Dr. Lai believes that the grass has a symbiotic gene, and all plants on the island are related to the king of grass, which is exactly what the group needs to track down. While the team speculates about their upcoming goal, deadly vines with predatory heads once again attack the strangers. Lin bears the brunt of the blow, narrowly escaping death thanks to Lily. Trying to escape from the danger through the cave's maze, Lin and his companion find themselves at a sacrificial altar, where they see a discarded snakeskin. Meanwhile, the other members of the expedition are exploring another part of the cave, where they are suddenly attacked by an enraged king snake. Lin is examining the snake when he notices a golden python crawling towards him peacefully. As the snake's head gently presses its face against Lin's forehead, he suddenly realizes this is Xiaohua, his pet, whom he rescued years ago and who still remembers their friendship. However, at the sound of gunshots, the python swiftly slithers away, and the partners hastily make their way to the place where they heard gunshots. On one of the walls, Lin notices drawings of an ancient tribe, and they decide to take a closer look at them. Lin realizes that the mural tells the story of a meteor that once fell here. Its magnetic influence gave rise to the golden plants with the healing properties that can parasitize and form symbiotic relationships with animals, granting their hosts remarkable longevity. According to the images on the mural, it's clear that humans also tried to use this secret of longevity by mixing their blood with that of serpents. At this time, the team fleeing from the Snake King finds the Plant King, a giant, bloodthirsty flower in the center of the illuminated cave, which comes to life when Fei touches it. Along with the flower's bloodthirsty yellow heads, the serpent, which guards its territory, also attacks the outsiders. The armed group manages to wound the monster, and in order to give the others a chance to escape from its deadly grasp, Zhao sacrifices one of his accomplices by pushing him towards the monster. They run into Lin and Lily, who immediately tells her mother that they have just seen a golden python. Dr. Lai confirms her hunch that the serpent might be connected to the golden grass. Confused, Lily realizes she made a mistake, and with terrified Lin, the team set out to hunt for his old friend. The team discovers a golden python coiled around a king snake, treating its gunshot wound. They also notice that Xiaohua's golden scales are falling off. Lin then realizes that the python is a rare hybrid of both snake and a golden plant, and could possibly be the last of its kind. Fei decides that they must capture Xiaohua and place it in a nutrient soil to then extract the longevity genes from it. Despite her daughter's objection, the woman orders to hunt the python down, and armed men surround their prey. However, the healed king snake pounces on the hunters. They have to flee from the furious monster in a hurry, and Lin gets wounded by the snake. His father and uncle manage to pull the boy out from the monster's jaws, but his neck is ripped. Lin succumbs to the poison, experiencing severe cramps, but Xiaohua comes to his friend's aid, curing him of his lethal wound with his touch. Xiao then hits the python with a rifle stock, proud of the fact that he used Lin as bait. Xiao decides to use the python as bait to catch the Snake King. He hangs his prey in a net to attract the Snake King, but it turns out a trap for the whole team, and they have to escape from the cave to avoid certain death. Lin and Lily are the first to escape. Lin suddenly finds 2 sprouts of a healing plant. He picks them up and hides them in his pocket to smuggle them back to the village. The other group members show up too, dragging the golden python they captured. A distraught Xiao immediately decides to kill it in order to keep the prey for himself. Trying to protect his friend, Lin confronts Xiao. The villain is suddenly wrapped in a deadly embrace by Xiao Hua, but Xiao bites through the python's scaly skin. Seeing this, Lin suddenly realizes the unsolved mystery of the mural. He understands that ancient tribes used to drink the blood of snakes for longevity, but they came down with the plague and died. Xiao pounces on Lin to kill him and then capture the python, which will bring him a lot of money. Tang Shu rushes to protect his son, and in the heat of the battle, he gets stabbed in the back. The old man, with whom Lin had a falling out and hadn't spoken to in a decade, passes away in his son's embrace. The villain, however, suffers the same fate as the dead ancient tribe. Xiao's body is covered with open, deadly sores. In addition, he is attacked by the Snake King, who destroys him with one blow and crawls away into the island's dungeons. The serpent's movements send tremors through the ground beneath the survivors' feet, devastating the ecosystem that once nurtured the healing herb, letting all the young sprouts die. The survivors make their way to the riverbank, where Lin finds the wounded Xiao Hua. Lin remembers the sprouts he had found, and despite Fei's desperate pleas on saving her company, refuses to give her the cure. Instead, he uses it to heal his loyal friend. Later, Lin synthesizes a cure from a second preserved sprout and saves the people of his native village from a deadly disease. What do you think? Is the movie worth seeing or not? Leave your answer in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss the summary of your favorite films.